Hey, this is Joe, and in this video we're going to start putting back together the electrical system on the GSXR 750. This is the headlight assembly, and I've cleaned it up. And we also have a bracket here that we're going to mount onto the headlight assembly, but I wanted to show you something first in case you run across a similar situation. You notice this wire right here. We have a red wire and we have a black wire, and it looks like this black wire has been snipped. So what the previous owner had done was put on a HID ballast. This is a high intensity bulb. I'm assuming there's a high intensity bulb on here. So I was going to convert this back to stock, but since it was working when I purchased the bike, I'm just going to put this back. So what he did was he snipped the black lead from this connector right here, and then it looks like he put on two other connectors coming from the same headlight bulb. And it just so happens that on the ballast there's two connectors. There's a red lead and there's a black lead, and luckily he put different male and female connectors on the end, so I know which way these connectors will go on. Then at the other end of the ballast there is looks like a DC input which supplies voltage to the headlight assembly. So we're going to leave this the way it is. If it turns out not to work, then I'll convert it back to a stock configuration. But what we're going to do, if you notice at the top of the headlight, let me back this out so you can see. If you notice, there is a connector here and there's a connector there, and it just so happens that there's a fork stay bracket here, and there's a grommet that mounts there, and on the top side there's a grommet that mounts there. So this way you can then mount the headlight assembly to the front of the frame. So what I have is the two screws that mount this bracket to the headlight assembly. I'll go ahead and mount those off camera, but this is the first part of putting the electrical system back together. We completely removed the entire wiring harness because we had to change out the frame. But so we're going to now route the wiring harness back and connect everything back up. So I'm going to show you the process of how we're going to do that. What we're going to do now is, here's the wiring harness, here's the subframe of the bike. We're back in the battery area where the fuses and relays are. What you want to do is take the harness and you want to tuck it down in behind the right hand side of the battery box. This is your rear tail light and turn signal connector, and there is another wire harness that will plug into this to go back to the tail light area. Okay, then let me zoom in a little bit here. What you have is, here is a double, there's tabs on these, on the rubber tabs. This is a double tab. This is your coming from the solenoid and going to the battery. If you look inside the area here, let me get my hand out of the way. There's two plastic tabs right here. This is going to, this solenoid terminal is going to slide right in like that. Then if you find there are two relays right here, and if you notice on the backhand side there's a rubber slip-on piece. These slip on to the rubber tabs, or plastic tabs. The rubber slips onto the plastic tabs. And try to get your wires aligned properly so they're not twisted. And then what you'll see here is we'll take these two relays and we'll put them on the rubber onto the plastic tabs. Okay, now there's a whole bunch of other, this is your fuse box right here. We're not going to put that on just yet. Let's get these wires out of the way. There is a two rubber piece right here, and notice it says up on it. And if you look down inside the battery compartment, just in front of the relay terminal, you're going to see two more tabs, plastic tabs. What you're going to do, we'll get the wires out of the way. Here's your positive battery terminal coming from the solenoid terminal strip. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this, and then you want to slide that onto the two rubber or the two plastic tabs, and that will go right there. Then what you can do is take your fuse box, and you'll notice there's a little push button right here. That fuse box and that cover, that push button, if you push that, you can open your fuse box. So you want to make sure that that opener or connector is on the right hand side, and in the piece that holds the battery, you want to slide that in till it clicks. And then there are three other connectors. There's this white connector right here. This just lays in between both of these other two black connectors. I looked in the manual and it's just laying in there, even though it does have a connector here on the back side. So this relay right here has a rubber grommet with mounting points on the side. That goes, if you look inside, you'll see a tab come up and go to the right. That connector fits in there. I'm trying to get this so you can see what's going on, so I have to stay out of the way. Okay, that sits in there. Then you'll notice there's this 4-pin connector right here. This plugs in to the solenoid terminal, and this goes into your harness right here. So that snaps in like that. Now you have one more connector. What you want to do is make sure your positive battery terminal comes out to the right or to the left hand side. You'll also then see your negative battery terminal. This also comes in the solenoid area, and it's grounded to the frame. So for the time being, let's get this out of the way. We have another connector. Notice this connector, it has a slot in the rubber on the side. That will go in. There's another tab right here. That will go in. Let's get this out of the way. That will go in on this plastic tab here. So now all your connectors are connected, your fuse box, your relays, and what you want to do now is take that white connector and you want to gently just rest it in on the bottom, and then what you'll have is you'll have your tail light wiring connector right here. So now we have all of this in and installed. Your positive battery terminal comes over to the left hand side of the subframe. you have your negative battery terminal that comes up from the solenoid frame area that will sit there. So now we have that connected.